I'm Kylie and welcome to the Human Happiness video tutorial on releasing yourself from attachments, part 1. Now first of all, I'll define what an attachment is. It's a bond between you and an outcome, or you and a person, or you and a behaviour, or you and an object. And this bond between you and these things is something that you don't feel that you could live without, or that you could do without. And that's when it becomes an unhealthy relationship, and that's what an attachment is. Now, all attachments that you're experiencing are based entirely on fears. Most of them have been ingrained from society from the very early days of your life. So it's the fears of society that has actually been behaviourally put into you. Later on in your life, it may be fears that have actually come up from your own ego-based experiences. So ego-based fears that have actually made you attached to certain things. So I want to go a little bit back further and talk about the origin of attachments and how ingrained it actually has been. So when you're born and in your very first early years, you start to notice very quickly that people around you are attached to things. And that your parents or your carers start to encourage you to be attached to things. So even when you're, given a dummy to calm you down, or a fluffy toy, or a certain food or a certain beverage, you start to become attached to these things because you feel that you could not do without them, or maybe your parents could not do without them at the time. And of course, I'm not making anybody wrong here, because when I was a young mum, I did exactly the same thing. I gave my children dummies and gave them foods to calm them down, make them feel happy. So it's not something that just that you're experiencing here. And when you got a little bit older, you started to notice when you got to school that people were quite attached to coming first and going well and outsmarting people and outrunning people, and you started to get attached to outcomes. So that became rather big when you started to go to school, or you started to interact in society a bit more. And you also started to notice as you got a bit older that people started to be quite attached to people. And so, of course, as a member of society, you tend to follow what everybody else does, and that's completely normal. And again, I'm not making anybody wrong for this, because again, I've experienced exactly the same thing. So you start to notice that people are attached to people, and that seems to be the thing to do. So that's why you follow suit. Society has actually pretty much trained you to be attached to many and varied things, outcomes, people, objects and behaviours. And society has also taught us that having these attachments, holding on to these attachments and pursuing these attachments is the path to happiness. But of course, we don't need to look very far to actually realise that having these attachments actually doesn't bring happiness at all. And I'm not going to go on about that. You can look at anything in the media. Some people that have all the money in the world and they're still not happy. So they have an attachment to objects, including money, but they're still not happy. So that's definitely not brought them happiness. Some people can have many friends, they can be very famous, they can have lots of family and friends and associates around them, but they can still be quite miserable. Some people can have been attached to outcomes, like being the best golfer in the world, or the best basketball in the world, or win a Nobel Prize. That's an outcome, but they could still actually be quite miserable. So I've done people, I've done outcomes, objects and behaviour. So you can actually be attached to certain types of behaviour, but that actually doesn't mean that you're going to be happy. So you could be the funniest person in the world and be attached to that behaviour, but still be actually quite miserable inside. So yes, at this point we can confirm that attachments are not a good thing to have. Attachments are stemmed from fears. There's 4 different types of things that you can be attached to, and society has essentially trained us to believe that having attachments will make us happy, and we've pretty much worked out in this day and age that that's actually not true. And I just want to make a quick point that I'm not making anybody wrong, not making your parents wrong, or your siblings or your friends or anybody who trained you in this way, because it's just a thing that society's done. Now, and I also want to make another point here, that there's a very big difference between attachment and commitment. I wholly and fully encourage commitment to things that you love, that you care about, that you're committed to, and things that will actually enable you to follow your life purpose. So for instance, I'm committed to human happiness. and I'm committed to your growth and your life purpose and your healing from watching these videos. And so that's actually a very healthy thing to have, to be committed to something like that and to work towards those goals, and that's fine. If I was attached to those things, what I would be experiencing would be being sort of obsessive about, oh, I hope that 400 people watch this video, and I hope that I get 100 really good reviews about this video. And so that's actually being attached to an outcome. If I'm attached to people, I would be expecting lots of friends to come online and to befriend me because they've watched this video. So you can see where I'm going with this. So all of that would be based on fear. You can use another analogy, like with your children. You could be committed to your children having a healthy and happy childhood. You can be committed to their growth and their learning and their well-being, and you can be committed to providing them with the best thing that you can at any point in time. If you attach to your children and those outcomes, then you would be obsessing about them getting really good marks at school, or be really upset with yourself if you can't provide them with certain objects or gifts or certain types of clothing or whatever. So you can see where this is going. So the second part there is definitely based on fears. The first part is based on love and gratitude and compassion. So that's where we're at. Now I want to put you into an analogy. Imagine that you're floating in the ocean, and the ocean's very calm, and you're floating quite comfortably on your back, and you're in a starfish kind of position. Your arms and legs are splayed out, and you're floating really comfortably, and you're really happy, you're really calm, and through the water you're actually feeling a connection with every other living being on the planet. So you're feeling connection with every tree, with every blade of grass, with every other human, with every animal, and you can feel that beautiful connection between you and them through the water. So the analogy is kind of like having the divine energy between all of us and looking into sort of a oneness kind of a thing. But then, so this is kind of like at your birth. And then when you've seen very little babies feeling quite content, and then society kicks in and starts to teach you fears and attachments, and that's when the dummy comes in, and the comforters come in, and other things come in, foods and things that make you feel safe, and so you start to feel unsafe laying there on the water on your own, unaided, out there in the middle of nowhere. And you start to attach yourselves to things, okay? And this is a physical, a mental and emotional attachment that you experience. And so you start attaching yourself to objects, especially when you're very young, your favourite toys and your favourite teddies and things like that. And then you start to attach yourself to people like your parents and things like that. And then to outcomes, when you start to realise that there's certain things that you would like to achieve that may get you more love and more happiness. And then you attach yourself to certain behaviours because you think that behaviour will again get you more love and happiness. And to feel connected. So these attachments are actually real. Yes, you're having them in a mental and emotional context, but you're also having them in a physical context, not just by your behaviours and what you do and what you buy and what you how you speak to people and relate to people, but there's also, according to Doreen Virtue, etheric cords attached between you and these people and these objects. So imagine again that you're laying on the water, and you were floating quite comfortably. Then you started to feel quite fearful, and then you started to attach yourself to things. Now there's 5 different ways these attachments can affect you while you're laying on the water. The first one is the attachment can actually pull you in the wrong direction. So this may be, buying a house for all the wrong reasons, or buying a car for the wrong reasons, or going into a relationship for all the wrong reasons, or going for a job or moving somewhere for the wrong reasons, and that will pull you away from your life purpose. So your life purpose may be going this way, but you've been sent over there. The second one is being pulled in opposite directions. So it's like being in the middle of a tug of war. So one attachment's pulling you that way, another attachment's pulling you that way, and you're really, in the end, not going anywhere. You're just feeling a lot of pressure and a lot of strain. So that may be, you know, your partner's over on this side wanting you to go this way, and your parents are over there wanting you to go another way. Both of them you're attached to because you're not being in your own power and you're not able to make your own decisions at this point. The third type is something that weighs you down. Now, this is usually under the banner of addictions and things like that. Things that like being overweight, for instance, or having things that are sort of pushing down upon you. So in the analogy, it'd be like having something on top of you on the water, and so of course your weight would increase, and you know it may push you down under the water. There's another one is attachments that actually pull you under. So this might be a relationship that you're having with somebody, and that person has decided to sink. So they're not interested in floating or swimming or going in any direction. They literally just want to sink. So there might be someone who's quite depressed or quite dysfunctional in some other way, and you're attached to them, and they pull you under, basically. And the last type is the type that just stops you moving altogether. So someone who's not interested in you moving forwards or backwards or any way, so they just anchor you to the bottom of the ocean and you're just stuck there. So that's giving you a bit of a picture of why attachments are not a good idea, and the different ways that different attachments can pull you around. One of the first ways that I'm going to teach you how to release yourself from these attachments is first to acknowledge what your attachments are. Now, this might be too confronting for you right now, this stage, so you can actually go to stage 2 and just leave this one alone if it's too much for you at the moment. But essentially what it is listing what attachments you're actually experiencing at the moment, so you can start to step back and actually pay attention to what kinds of pulls you're feeling from these attachments and where they've actually stemmed from, and maybe to look at what the fears are. This is a very basic summary of this. I'll go into it in a lot more detail later. So you'll make a heading outcomes, and then you'll look at all the things that you're hoping for in the future that you're attached to that are actually not really serving your life purpose, and that are quite unhealthy. And then you'll look at the people that you're attached to. So these are people that you feel, and all of these are things that you feel that you can't live without. Like if someone said, tomorrow you're not going to have that thing anymore, or that person, or that outcome, or that object, or that behaviour, it's not going to happen anymore, and you're at a point where you're like, I can't live without that, I can't do without that. That's your attachment. And so list the people that you're attached to. They may be people that you end up being committed to, but at the moment it's unhealthy, so you just need to rejig the relationship itself. And then you continue your lists. So that's one thing I definitely recommend that you do if you feel comfortable with that. If you don't at the moment, revisit it in 6 months' time or a year's time, or whenever it is that you feel that you can do it. You can just go straight to step 2. And this is looking at your self-love, your self-approval, and feeling safe. And so this stems from a lot of the Louise Hay work. I suggest getting lots of post-it notes, and on one of them writing, I love and appreciate myself exactly as I am, and I approve of myself. So I'll say that again. I love and appreciate myself exactly as I am, and I approve of myself. I suggest writing that on about 10 or 12 post-it notes and sticking it everywhere in your house, in your car, on your computer desk, or wherever you work. Put one on your bathroom mirror and say it straight to yourself. So if I was looking in the mirror at home, I would say, Kylie, I love and appreciate you exactly as you are, and I approve of you. And that's a really good spot to start, because you're working on going back to the point where you can lay on that water on your own, unaided, unattached to anybody, because you don't need to reach out to anybody, because you can do it on your own. And this is the path to that. The second one that you could do there is I am safe, all is well. It's another Louise Hay one. It's a classic. It works really well. Again, have that everywhere. And then after a little while, you'll start to, when you're having an attachment moment, when you're feeling fearful of losing something, or you feel a bit obsessive about something, instead of having those thoughts, you can straight away interrupt them and say, I love and appreciate myself exactly as I am. I approve of myself, or I'm safe all is well, and literally start to rejig your self-talk. So I highly recommend that. There's some Drew Yoga sequences and asanas that I highly recommend, and I will be putting them up on videos very soon. EBR3 is fantastic for releasing attachments. EBR4 and 5 together is fantastic as well. Another 2 asanas are the Dancer and the Locust. Again, I highly recommend them for attachments. And if you're looking at breaking habits, the Crane and the Wheel are fantastic. And the last thing I'm going to show on this video, because it's already quite long, is daily. I suggest that you actually cut the cords of attachment, these cords that I was talking to you about before. Every person that you are attached to, or that is attached to you, has an etheric cord attached from your body physically to their body. And what's happening is they're actually sucking your energy from you to their body. They're not realizing they're doing this, but that's actually what's happening. And you're doing the same thing if you're attached to someone or something. So you may even have cords attached to your feet to your house, if you're particularly attached to your house and you could not bear to leave your house, for instance. Or if you're having a specifically strong power struggle between you and another person, then both of you will have cords attached to your power center, which is your solar plexus around your tummy area, and those cords will be feeding off each other, and the person who's mostly attached will be sucking the energy from the other person. So, a quick little angel therapy thing that you can do, and I've got this from Doreen Virtue, is every day, maybe twice a day if you can manage it, is just to say, Archangel Michael, I call upon you now. Please cut the cords of fear and attachment that are draining my energy and vitality. Thank you. So I'll say that again. Archangel Michael, I call upon you now. Please cut the cords of fear and attachment that are draining my energy and vitality. Thank you. You can also call upon Archangel Raphael. So you can say, Archangel Raphael, I call upon you now. Please come in behind Archangel Michael and heal the severed cords that have been the cords that have been severed. Thank you. So always be grateful. Always say thank you. And this will actually give you back your energy, okay? Because you'll actually be feeling quite drained if there's a lot of attachments going on. So thanks for listening, and this is a really big topic. Attachments are huge. I still have some attachments that I'm still working on. You're definitely not alone, and best wishes, and thanks for listening. Bye.